Welcome back to On the Nose. This week is a continuation of the conversation that was started last week with Ivy. That was episode 23. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to that and you want to get caught up, definitely go back and listen. I hope that you guys had a great week and have a great week. Thanks for listening.
That's actually not a bad idea. Yeah, so that way people can get an idea. Because they changed the laws up here a few years ago, where like now motorcyclists, the way it's worded and it's supposed to play out is that if the speed limit is under 25, like on the freeway or something, if everything's dropped down to 25, then like the motorcycle can legally either use like the shoulder or go between the cars. Um, but of course, the motorcyclists up here and stuff like that, they sure as fuck don't go by that rule. Like they
Yeah.
will fly right in between cars when you're going like 65. They'll fly right in between you like at night or in broad daylight, and you're like, holy shit. Like I was about to change lanes over to here and like this guy flew in between me and like another space or something. And I'm like, if I had decided to like just be like, whoop, change lane, he would have been like right into the back or the side of my car. And I'm like, God
Yeah.
damn, you fucking idiot.
That drives me crazy
Yeah.
too. Like California lane sharing is now officially actually legal. For a long time it was a gray zone that the law was technically it's legal to pass a car that's parked on the shoulder and stay in the lane with the car, and they use that as a technicality to allow motorcyclists to lane split, but you're supposed to do it safely and like if traffic's going slow. And part of the reason for that was back in the day motorcyclists were air cooled. So you needed them to keep moving or they would overheat if they're sitting like in traffic. And but it's people, like in the Bay Area and stuff. I would commute to work. I would go into San Francisco on my motorcycle. And by the time I got there, I would be so angry. And it would not be the car drivers, it would be the other motorcyclists, because we would be like on the Bay Bridge and there's motorcyclists doing like 80 on going between cars in every single lane, and you're supposed to do it on the leftmost lane. And when I lived in Southern California, the motorcyclists would lane split together. Like we would all, even if we were doing 80, you could have a cop leading you on his motorcycle at 80 miles per hour, but we did it together. Instead of having the motorcyclists everywhere, the car drivers are like, where do I go? What do I do? And I'm like, we as motorcyclists have a responsibility to be responsible with what we're doing so that we can work together with the car drivers. And instead they're like acting like these entitled little brats. So I was like, oh, why do I hate the motorcyclists more than the car drivers? This isn't how it's supposed to be. But
there's times that I'm in traffic that I'm like, I wish I had a motorcycle or a two-wheeled vehicle, to get by through here. Like, yeah, I could easily, when all traffic is stopped, if I had a motorcycle, yeah, there's plenty of room on the shoulder here for me to go, 25 through here and just kind of like, yeah, I don't need to fly on by at 60 miles an hour. I can kind of go at a lower speed, but I'm like, I'm going to get places faster than this traffic. And like, I don't see motorcyclists up here do that. They just go batshit crazy. And I'm just like, you idiot. Like,
yep.
You just like, they're not paying attention to what's going on around them, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've almost, turned a bunch of them into, bugs on my car. And I'm like, this is crazy. I was like, yeah, no, not cool.
Yeah, there's like a culture of us versus them that's pervasive in the US anyways. And I think that that's like part of what we're seeing is motorcyclists like feel like they're separate from the car drivers when, we're all working together. Like that's why there's road laws. Like is if we all follow the laws, then traffic moves safely and correctly. And I get like there are certain laws that I'm like, yeah, those don't really matter in the grand scheme if you do the other stuff. But I get really like I get mad when people don't merge right and stuff. I don't like road rage, but I get like my brain goes, that person is an entitled piece of shit. Like, like I literally like just be like, yeah, I totally judge that person as not a good person because of how they drive. And, you know, because it's just so like, I don't know. I had somebody cut me off the other day and the way they did it was so inconsiderate that it was like if you take that behavior and plug it into say an in-person interaction, they would have to be like a really nasty person.
Mhm.
So I don't feel bad having that judgment, you know. I wouldn't meet them in person and be like, I think you're a bad person, but it would be a red flag that
Mhm.
I would hold and then gauge, against them.
I totally understand that. Like, one thing in Portland is like the freeway system and roads through Portland are such a mess. Just how they're done. They were built so hastily and poorly, back in the 50s and 60s. Robert Moses, the same guy that did the stuff for New York, he took it on here for Portland, and like the only ever good thing was that the I-5 was a straight stretch of freeway for like maybe a mile. That was it. The rest of it is this twists and curves, and it goes down to literally like 2 lanes, and one is a merge lane, and it's crazy. You're driving, and then people will like pull up on you, and they have like the whole left lane they can get into and do their fast speed and do whatever. It's open, it's there. I'm in the middle lane going the speed limit. I'm out of the merge lane, and they fly up behind me, and I'm just like, fuck is your problem? They fly around me on the right, nearly go off the shoulder, fly back around. I'm like, what was that about?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's just like, that made no sense. Like, just like, yeah, stay in the left lane if you want to pass, asshole. I'm like, whatever. Like, crash and burn, motherfucker. I don't care. It's
It's it's one of the things I like about going into other states.
mhm,
So going up into Oregon or going down into Arizona,
mhm,
especially, is at least in the areas closer to the border, the 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 laws about the passing lanes are actually enforced. And
mhm,
so like you don't just sit in the left lane, like you get into Oregon and the cops will come up behind you and be like, you need to get over. This is a passing lane. Right. And in California, you get these people, they're not even doing the speed limit and they stay in the passing lane. And it's so you end up with people habitually always driving in the other lanes and passing. And
mhm,
it's like really, chaotic and dangerous. And then like I've been going where my RV's parked, that area not that long ago had like only 2-lane freeways. And so people still drive with the habits of a 2-lane freeway, even though it's 3 or 4 lanes now. And so they do things like if you want to pass, they speed up to block you and just these weird like
yeah.
local cultural things. And then I'm
Mhm,
just like, I just try to stay really far away from
yeah.
everybody.
I totally agree. It's just, it gets crazy, and you're just like, I'm just trying to drive somewhere. I want to go get my ice cream before I get on the radio here and talk with Ivy, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's it's I mean, it's like that everywhere. When I traveled, I found it really interesting to look at like traffic flow and behaviors in other countries. Like, there's sort of this like stereotype that like Asian people are bad drivers, right?
Mm,
And I think that that legitimately comes from the fact that the driving culture is so different that when they come here, they're behaving in ways that we don't predict.
mhm,
But over there, it works perfectly well. Like,
mhm,
you'd have like these 6 lanes merging onto the freeway, absolute like chaos, except that they all let each other go.
mhm,
So if you don't merge as expected, they will get mad at you because they're letting you go. They like work together to like
mhm,
merge into this. It is just a complete, and I was like, I've literally seen people do this in the US where it caused problems because that's not how our traffic flows.
mhm,
And I was like, that literally makes so much sense. Like, so is interesting just to see what works in other places. Not that they don't have traffic problems or accidents or dumb things happen either. It's just slightly sometimes different than what we have
mhm.
here.
I actually kind of like Asian drivers better, you know. I've never had an issue with them because they don't have a truck culture over in, let's say, specifically Japan. They don't have truck culture over there like they do here in America, Or some douchebag just comes up in a big truck and revs his engine, and you're just like, fuck off, okay? Get the fuck off me right now. I swear to God, my car's just gonna completely go underneath you. Like, you wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, I have a tiny little car. They could literally drive over me.
Yeah, same. I drive a tiny little green hatchback, and like I could duck and never touch the top or the bottom of your truck. So, but yeah, like you
Yeah,
rev up, and I always have the comment in my head like, "Hey, don't drive your wife's truck like that. If she finds out, you didn't go to Whole Foods right away, you're not gonna be able to drive it for another week, okay?" Like,
right.
and
Yeah, but that's oh my god. The area I'm from, lots of agriculture, but since in my lifetime has changed to be like more wine country.
mhm,
But the truck culture has stayed, and it's gone from being functional farm trucks
mhm.
to like I don't know why they have them trucks, right? They're
Yeah,
not even dirty. Like
little, little, little,
yeah, and
little penis
ah,
culture.
and we used to, like, make fun of them, like, when I was younger, like, drive past them playing sheep noises and yell at them, "Regular butts drive me nuts," and just generally be rude because we were teenagers, but it, yeah, I also try to avoid them on the road because they're they tend to, like, they spend a lot of time looking at their phones. So you have these big trucks, like, you know, like, "No, thank you."
Yeah. And I'm like, guess what? I'm on the road just the same as you are. And it's just like,
Yeah.
if it's funny, I'm a tiny little car, and yet I seem to be a really big problem for you. Guess what?
Right?
I can do this all day. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our gas tanks will get us a lot further than theirs, that's for sure.
Oh my
I
goodness,
can't
yes. My
I can't
car.
even, like I didn't know that there were still trucks that people were driving that only get, like, 7 miles to the gallon. I had no freaking I like, I had, like, a culture shock when I bought my RV and the type of truck that's needed to tow it. They're like, "Yeah, I get, like, 7 miles per gallon," and I was like, "So you pay almost $1 a gallon, $1 a mile to go anywhere right now." Like, whoa, just
That's incredible. Yeah. No, my hatchback gets really, really, really good gas mileage. And the more I drive highway and long distance, it's just like I can get over 400 miles to a tank of gas. And I think I have like a 12-gallon tank, but I always fill up around 300 miles on it. So I always put in about 8 gallons. The thing's great. I've had it for probably about 10 years now. It's a 20-year-old car. And I take care of it. And I can't tell you how many times I've swapped out and replaced, headlights, alternator, radiator, this and that, and to the car, and it just keeps going. It's a little Korean car, and I'm like, Ivy's driving
Yeah.
down the road, you know.
Some of those cars from that era is just like they were actually built to last
Mhm,
and have, like old Hondas and stuff too. They
mhm.
have like great gas mileage and as long as you do the maintenance, they just keep going.
Yep.
I have a sports car and so I was not expecting like the best gas mileage and I've been getting like 34, 35 miles per gallon which is great for like a car that could rip up the road,
Mhm.
just I went on my road trip and I had done the math based on being in traffic gas mileage, which I get more like 29 or so. And then I got like 36, 37, and I was just like, that's not bad, and it's fun. And it's not my motorcycle, I got 50. So,
Mhm.
nothing compares to that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's, I don't feel too bad driving it around and with that gas mileage, just knowing that I can have fun with it. Huh, my cat's on my lap.
Yep, here it is. Your kitty hears you singing your song and has no idea that you're talking to a person.
Yeah.
It's like my human is in distress. I shall visit them.
Yeah, he's not a very cuddly cat, he's more of a bitey cat.
Mm.
So, the last couple days, he's been sitting on my lap, which is new for him, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "I'll take it." It's probably because 'cause I've been in a mood,
Yeah.
so he feels like he should be with me, but, ah, he's just this face of, like, absolute joy when I'm scratching his chin where he's just like, "Ah."
Ooh, yeah, cats love that chin scratch. They're just like, oh my goodness, I'm glad I have a human. Oh,
It's like this is why I hired you.
I will keep you on for another day.
I know. I my only thing is like he needs to kill the bugs.
Mm,
That's paying rent right
mhm,
there. I scratch chin, he kill bugs. It's
mhm,
fair. And he's like, no, I'm just gonna play with them. But, we would do this for about an hour, so
mhm,
you could probably like wrap up.
mhm,
I will do my little
mhm.
outro thing, and then we can pause the recording, and then we can say goodbye and all that.
Okay.
Um,
Did you have any other questions you want to ask me, or if like
can't think of anything right now, but
okay.
my plan is to have you back in a couple of months. So
I
if you
love
want.
that. I would. I have had a great time. This is great. Here we are just chatting, and I'm literally down to like this much water. So I'm gonna make sure to bring more water next time because when I talk, man, I burn through my vocal cords like so fast. Like water is massively important for me. To have.
Yeah, I keep my water too. Always the yeah, just because the podcast is so new and I just start like you're my fourth person that I've had on, and you're the first person that I'm not like and like someone I talk to every day type person. So I feel like it's great to get started, but it'll be cool to like come back and revisit in a
Mhm.
couple of months, and then plus like you'll be further into what you're doing, and then we can like see what's going on. And
Perfect, and
um
hopefully, like your situation improves as well. Hopefully, mine does as well. I
yeah.
go into a lot of my personal situation right now, but hopefully, hopefully,
Yeah,
hopefully.
I hope that we'll both, I mean, we'll talk before then, but
Mhm.
like I hope that we both have like get some breaks, you
Right?
know?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
exactly. And then for me, it's that break isn't time off. That break is like, here's your chance at the shot. Take that shot, go for it. Like that's the break I'm looking for because I'm like really pressing hard into things. I've got some
Yeah.
potential things in the future. I'm lining things up, and I'm like, come on, So yeah, I want that break
I want
too.
that I want that for you. So,
Thank you so much. You are so
and
sweet. You are so sweet, and I love your makeup, by the way. Your all your clown makeup, all of that is
oh.
just absolutely fascinating. I am in awe. I am in absolute awe of it. I really, really am. So I wanted to tell you that you do a fantastic job, and I can't wait someday for you to be able to like do mine. I'm
Yeah, I would love to do that. We'll make it happen one of these days. Once I've settled in and I have a
Mhm,
sense of things, I'll be able to start like wandering a little, and
mhm,
totally would be a lot of fun.
mhm. Come find me up here
So,
in Portland, Oregon.
yeah, and then I could see you. I could laugh at your silverfish joke live and shame everyone else.
I I do have other like little one-liner jokes as well, but I don't know if you want to
Oh.
hear them.
Oh, wait, we didn't do jokes. We didn't do jokes.
Okay.
Okay, we're not done yet.
No, we're
You
not.
need to do some jokes.
Okay. So this kind of continues with that. Like if they get the silverfish joke, I'm like, I can go into the next ones. Or sometimes if they don't get it, I'm like, okay, I can play into these next ones. So if like I tell the intro of, why do they call them silverfish if they don't taste like fish? And like I don't know why I do this when I'm on stage, but like I kind of do that voice, like, why do they call them silverfish if they don't taste like fish? I'm like, why I do it like that? I have no idea. It just comes out. But like I've got other ones where it's like sometimes I try and credit for my mom. My mom always used to tell me, Ivy, don't blame earthquakes. It's not their fault. And I'm like, oh mom, please no. Or why is Taco Bell the only place you can walk to and leave with the runs? Like I told that one, dental floss is just a hoax. They're stringing you along. That stupid little jokes, like those dumb little jokes. I love telling them because the audience actually kind of eats that up a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, those are funny, huh? That kind of the little humility of just time for dumb little jokes from Ivy. Those kind of things.
That could be like a whole segment. Time for dumb jokes with Ivy.
And there's another one that's like I don't have it fully memorized because it's a laundry list, and literally it actually is a laundry list. And I've only told it a few times because like I haven't got it memorized, but basically it's just like, yeah, me and my laundry are kind of having some issues right now. You know, my tank tops are giving me the cold shoulders. My bras are tired of supporting me. My socks left and they're giving me cold feet. Um, my hoodie is trying to pull something over my eyes. Like I know there's some other ones in there, but I don't quite remember like what the entirety of it is. But those are just the basics. And people have actually said like they like that, and I was like, yeah, because that's one they can get. Like, because if you tell someone about socks and they don't know
Yeah.
what it is, you know, it's just kind of like. But if you tell silverfish and they don't get it, they're like, what? Silverfish? What is that?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, I live in my second home and I got the mortgage. I don't know what a silverfish is, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like you need a picture and they'll be like, "Oh, that's what that's called?" You know, like
Yum.
what
Yeah, what other jokes do I have? Gosh, you know, I don't have a lot of jokes, but I just kind of have the ones that I run through over and over again. I was telling the Jewish ones for a while because that's what I did starting out because I was like, I really don't want to have to like write jokes. I wanted to perform more than write jokes. So like you know, the typical thing is like when you're on stage, you really don't want to diss on any races. Like they definitely don't allow hate speech or anything like that in Portland. But you say anything about like, you know, so blacks, Asians, and like you don't want to say stuff about those. But like if your boss is white and he gets 3 weeks of paid vacation a year, they don't care what you say about him. Keep fair game. And the Jewish people, they don't fucking care. Like they really don't care. Like you can say the worst things. And like me, I am Jewish. Um, and like I say jokes, and they're just like, okay, yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay. Like to them, it's just like not even. It doesn't even register. Like I have to go to an audience member and be like, yeah, you have a pulse. Okay, let me get on the microphone and talk. I've told jokes because I did actually go to LA this year with some friends, and I did visit the Holocaust Museum, and I had a family reunion. Don't worry, they were all dead. It's okay, they won't get upset. Um, uh, and I've those are just some those are some of my first jokes I was telling, and there is another obviously Jewish comedian in Portland, and they tell a similar joke to that. And they told it the other night at an open mic, like 5 people ahead of me, and I'm like, I wasn't planning on doing that one, but definitely scratch that one off the list for right now because that joke was just told by somebody else, and I was just,
Right.
but when that happens, I always have kind of a backup for it. When we get like the one Jew up ahead of me, when it's my turn to get up there, I tell them I was like, you know, that's actually really good that you are Jewish and so am I, and I was like, well, with you in the room and me, we actually make up 2/3 of the world's population in one room right now, by the way, you know, Jewish population. And people actually laugh at that because that was something I learned at, you know, the Holocaust Museum in LA. I saw the percentage and the number of Jews that like died and recovered and how many exist now. And you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're not very many. I'm like, holy shit.
No.
And like I have told another one in the past, and I'm trying to remember how it goes because I found it on a piece of paper and it said Jewish cannibals, and I was like, what was I writing down? Because sometimes I never write my jokes down. I literally like write down one word and then another word with a backslash, and that is all I ever write because the rest of it's in my head. If I see it, the joke immediately like downloads or whatever, like the silverfish joke, and it's literally silverfish slash taste. Say that 5 times fast. That's very hard to say. Silverfish slash taste. Like that's all the joke I've ever written on paper, and I'm like, I know that one. So I was like, Jewish cannibals. Like what?
Yeah, what were you thinking?
I was like, it took me about a day to try and remember what that was, of just the most innocuous time. And basically it was like, yeah, you never hear about like cannibalism like in the concentration camps like during the Holocaust. You never hear about this. You never hear about like the Jewish people like eating each other to stay alive. And like you know, you never hear about that. And I was like, well, that's, I could get that because, the Nazis killed, 6 million Jews, and even then they still couldn't get the recipe right. That was a huge cannibal joke. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't told that one probably since the beginning, and I'm just like, I don't I don't know. I'm probably gonna forget it again eventually. It's gonna like lapse out of memory, but um
I really like dark humor, and it can be I have to be very careful with that because some people just can't.
mhm,
They just like there are some memes out there that are just amazing, but
mhm,
people cannot handle them. And so like I have the people that are safe dark meme people,
mhm.
and it's yeah. So I imagine that's got to be if you're prone because I did notice some of your jokes were like your Yelp
Yes,
suicide
I
joke,
was to know.
and I was like, and I thought I also told that one to my son, and he also laughed, and like, and I like, I was like, I could see how some people would like, they just wouldn't,
Mhm.
you know, but it totally tracks for my sense of humor.
Yeah. I go really dark, and then when the other, like, with that the suicide Yelp pages, like when the comic gets up on stage afterwards to follow me or the host, they're like, how do I follow this? Like, I literally just like devastate the room with that joke. I'm just like, wow, oh my gosh. Like, if you can get people who have been doing comedy for years, like, to just like get floored by that, I'm like, gotcha. Like, I love a dark sense of humor. I love to have fun. I have good energy, but yeah, I drop that joke every now and then, and people are just like, wow. And you know, I tied it, and I'm learning still to like tie in my jokes with one another if I've got time and I'm able to. So I had done this. One of the last sets I did was at the Schilling Cider House, and I told the joke of like, what's the checklist for, you've been in Portland, what can you check off your list? You're like, okay, transgender. Okay, cool. I'm transgender in Portland. Have you worked at Starbucks? Yes. Have you ever gone over to Gresham to sell your prescription medication? I'm like, yeah. And so at the end of the Yelp pages one with suicide, basically it's like I basically said, I was like, in my review, I'm gonna give my suicide 1 star because, instead of going over to Gresham, I hung myself instead of going over to Gresham to sell my prescription medication. Like, I tied it back around, and I got like a laugh from people, and I was like, okay, cool, we're bringing it back around. And I was like, that's so hard to do that because you've got to go through all these jokes and find out which pieces can connect and loop back around. And I think that's definitely a good work of a comedian right there, is to be able to interconnect your jokes and like streamline them and get laughs. And I'm learning how to do that, but wow, is it hard. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's you're literally actively learning a new skill that like you could spend the rest of your life basically perfecting.
Yes.
Even though there's probably no perfect, it never ends. It's
It
just
never
this
ends.
ongoing thing. Yeah, that's cool. It's great for your brain.
It,
I mean, that
it really is.
actively learning is great for your brain,
Mhm.
so
It really
stay sharp.
is. Hmm. And like here's the thing is like your brain doesn't shut off from this. It's the one job where just when you're done with the job, you don't clock out. Like, you're a comic, you're a comedian, you're that 24/7. That is you. And like, you can be in the most serious of situations or just hanging out with friends, and you're just like, oh my god, this is perfect. And your friends are like, we're not comedians. So I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, and it's just like you go into full comic mode, and it's just like in your head you see it happening, and you're like, can I ever stop doing this? I'm like, nope. Like, this all is rolling. So everything is like potential material, and that's the show Seinfeld was about that. Like, whenever he did his like, why does this go over here, like that, like whenever he was doing his stand-up, is because in the show was always material for Jerry to learn what to do for his stand-up. So it always incorporated into that. And that's basically just all Seinfeld ever was like this guy's boring or whatever life he had, and then he would just translate it into the stand-up show. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it right there. That's life in general. So
It's interesting. I can't do sitcoms. I have a really hard time
Mhm.
with them, so I didn't watch them. But I did really enjoy the series that he did, the coffee with comedians or coffee,
Was it like
whatever
the car
comedian.
one or something like?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I
I can't
never.
remember what it's called, but I
Yeah.
watched most of it and enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. I've never seen that one, but I am aware of it because it was like it would always pop up on different channels or streaming or whatever it was, and clips of it or something. And I was like, I don't really want to watch that right now. But yeah, like Seinfeld was never like my favorite show. Like I watched it, like I was like I could see where like the humor was. It's funny, but for me, like I don't know, I was never like that into the show. Like I liked older sitcoms, and like as time went on, I honestly I kind of feel like sitcoms just kind of got worse. Like they did. Like I really like
Yeah.
the old ones. Like the laugh track on MASH like always bugs me, like no matter what. I've heard there's versions where the laugh track is cut out and it's just dark as shit. I'm like, okay, maybe the laugh track needs to be in there because without it, you're like, yeah, that show gets really dark. But like I grew up watching like Taxi, Cheers, you name it. Those the shows back then. I really enjoyed those, and like I can watch those, and I'm not bothered by the laugh track. But you start to get into the '90s and later, and I'm like, I can't stand it. It's just it really bugs
Yeah.
me. But I like
I
older
think
shows.
thinking about it, you mentioned those shows,
Mhm,
and I watched them and liked them as a kid, and I didn't think about them as
mhm,
sitcoms the way that these other shows that I
mhm,
don't like, thought about. I love like Red Dwarf,
mhm,
um, and IT Crowd. There's the British
mhm,
shows, and they're like they have the laugh track, and the laugh track is a little painful, but I love the dry humor.
mhm.
It like it works for me. There's Black Books was another good one. That one has really dark humor, but yeah, a lot of the American stuff, the newer stuff, is just not. It's I don't yeah. I just go nope. I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I can like if you're asking me to name a sitcom right now that's on, I'm like, I have no idea. I really don't know. I can't think of a single like sitcom that's like streaming or on the air or anything. I'm like, yeah, I'm oblivious to
Yeah.
it. I really am. So like, and I know they've been like bringing back shows with like, you know, through like streaming services and stuff like that. But I'm like, I have no idea. It's like when I tell people I do comedy, and it's funny by different ages. People tell me the funniest things when I tell them, I'm a stand-up comedian. If they're a boomer age, they'll ask me like they don't really do a lot of podcast. They'll ask me like maybe like they're like if I know about Jeff Dunham, and I'm like, please don't, please don't. I'm like, I get it, Jeff Dunham is funny. He's a very good performer,
Jeffafa.com.
but I'm like, for me, Jeff Dunham is like not where my sense of humor is at. Like that's fine that some people find Jeff Dunham funny, but like if like that is your end all be all capsule of comedy, and I'm like, yeah,
I
no, and I'll get a younger person, and I'll tell them, I do stand up comedy, and they're like, oh yeah, my parents like listen to this one guy, and I'm like, okay, thank you. You clearly don't listen to comedy at all. Um, so I get like a variety of people, and or they'll ask me, do you listen to the podcast? Like you get someone like younger than Gen X. Yeah, do you listen to like this podcast? They had this one guy on it. I was like, I don't. I try and listen to people's podcasts as much as I can, but I'm like, there's only so much time in the day, and
right.
comedy podcasts are really not what I listen to at all. Like, I totally get it now because I used to be like, people work in Hollywood, like, why do they not know about the movies that are made? Like, when you're working away at this shit, you have no idea what is going on, and you just don't care what somebody else is doing. So I was like, I get that showbiz mindset now. I'm like,
It's I get that with just making content
Mhm,
online. I felt really guilty for a
mhm,
while that I wasn't consuming content very much,
mhm,
but I realized I'm a content creator
mhm,
and I literally do not have the bandwidth. So I do the best I can and I try to be supportive in certain ways, but I
mhm.
cannot just sit there and scroll, and I don't. I don't enjoy it anyways. I want to be doing stuff, you know? I do have a few friends that do podcasts, and I will put it on, like, if I'm driving or cleaning or something and make sure they get their listens and stuff, but I also don't have a lot of bandwidth for listening to podcasts and,
Mhm.
you know, um, it just yeah, I don't know if that's the Hollywood thing or it's literally just a side effect of being a creator is your focus goes into creating and not consuming.
I will say you are probably about 100% on that as like a content creator, whether you're doing something like this or I'm doing something on stage as a stand-up comedian. I would say that's a content creator as well. Yeah, it's just like you create so much and do so much that you're like, I don't, unless it's just like, what, my friend's show is, they're doing their thing, I'm gonna check that out. I usually have to pass on like all of it. But like if it's a friend's thing, like I'll definitely do my best to tune in because I have a personal invested interest in it and stuff like that. But if not, there is so much content out there. Like
Yeah,
I'm like, guys,
there is.
I don't know who this person is. Like there's like some podcast by some Aaron guy. I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't. I was like,
Yeah,
there's me. You can check out some, you can share like my content. And they're like, no,
right?
nope.
Dude, right. Like I'm like, why are you sending me all this stuff and you haven't even liked one of my things? Like, come on. Like you have time for that, but you can't give me 30 seconds. Like, I don't
Exactly.
expect people to listen to my podcast, but like my other stuff, if I post a photo
Mhm.
or my Etsy shop stuff, like if I post that, it takes like 10 seconds tops to process that you've seen the post and then share it. And I cannot get people to share my stuff. And I've
Mhm.
like, but they keep sending me stuff. So I'm like, you're consuming, you just not consuming mine. Like,
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Like people ask me for a long time, I want to see content yours. I want to see content of yours. So, back to the habeas corpus thing. Let's drag that corpse on in here. And I'm like, where'd everybody go? I'm like, here it is
right?
right here. Here it is. And then like I look like how many views have this got and likes? And I'm like, wow, this is tough crowd online here. And then sometimes though, some of my stuff will just absolutely take off, like the most innocuous like clip, and I'm like, well, why was this the popular one? And then like it just takes off, and I get a bunch of like meme comments, and I'm like, okay, and like, but like I get hundreds and hundreds of views and shares. I was like, that's so random. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah,
that's
I had a post do really well on Sunday.
mm,
Like I got like 4,000 views
mm,
on Twitter
yeah,
and then I got like 200 likes, which is like unheard of for
yeah.
me. I'm a 20 likes cap
Hmm.
type person. And I was just like, wow. And it wasn't I got a couple of rude comments, so I was like, "Oh, I succeeded." The mean people found me.
Right? Because with Twitter, no matter what it is traction. And I think that's what kind of keeps me there is like, even when people shit in your face, like the algorithm is like, you are popular. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I had in July, I had a picture of me like go up to like over 400 likes and like crazy. And I ended up getting like over 200 new followers on Instagram. And all it was me wearing like my pink like top with like the shreds in it. And I'm like, I have a blue version, I have a black version. It's all the same damn shirt. I just have different colors of it. And like it had been super hot outside, and I walked into the gym where there's air conditioning, and like you could see like poking through. And I've posted worse content than that, more risque, and yet that one was the one that took off with people. And even when I repost it, it still takes off. I was like, I don't get it. What is the appeal here? Like, it makes no sense to me why like this
Yeah.
is the big thing that they want. I'm like, I don't know, but here I am. So,
The more risque I post, the less it's like people look away. They're like, "Oh no." Like it's weird. I get like half the likes.
mhm.
So I was like, "All right, I'm just no more thirsty Thursdays for you guys. You're not appreciating it." So
Right? Same. I have to cut back for a while on some things myself because I'm like, hey, here's the goods. And people are like, okay. And nope.
yeah, no goods for you.
Yep. I was like, I can look in the mirror myself then. I don't need another person.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Social media is weird.
it is very, very strange. I'll never understand it. It's so superfluous and just like you'd think it would be people would have the audacity just to gear it the right way and do the right thing, but it is so it's almost as lopsided as politics and shit like that.
Oh, definitely.
And
It's
it is political without being law. I will say that social media is it is absolutely political.
it's like we never got to leave the junior high popularity
Mhm,
contest, and there's like an algorithm
mhm,
that is intentionally manipulating us to behave in certain ways so that they can make money off of us. It's
mhm.
not even for us.
No,
If it was for us, we would have the option to either use the algorithm or to have like a straight, like back in the day, like on LiveJournal and stuff. I don't know if you use that, but
mhm,
it was like, it was time stamped. You saw everything in order of when it was posted.
mhm,
So you just saw who you followed. Like that's all I
mhm,
want is to see who I follow and that's it. I don't want the algorithm to decide which posts I'm going to see because more often than not, it doesn't show me what I would prefer to see. Like it's showing me something that's like the popular kid posts, and I'm like, I don't care about that. I want to see the real shit. Like,
mhm. I agree. Like, and I've found with Twitter, um, the more you interact with a certain person, their stuff is going to start to pop up. But like, let's say like you and I are liking each other's posts, but maybe in a few days you like you either didn't like the content I posted or you got busy with something else and like you missed some of the posts that I posted. Um, it starts to drop a little bit, and I'm not sure if this is actually like legit, but this is kind of how I've interpreted it. Like, you'll stay in my feed and I'll stay in your feed, but as the interaction begins to lessen, we'll see less of each other until like something else starts to kind of take its place. So I've had some people that I'm like, did this person like quit? They leave Twitter? What happened? And I go and I'm like, wow, they still follow me. There's all kinds of crazy content on their their Twitter page, and I'm like, but I haven't seen a lick of it. And so I'll start to like their stuff and stuff like that and interact with them. And they start interacting back, and all of a sudden, bam, they're right in my feed like they never left. And like it's really weird like that. But so like they basically like shoo you away if like there's little interaction, and like you got to get that person back. And most of the
yeah,
time I found it's annoying, but sometimes I turn the notifications on and it's just like, okay, yeah, I don't need to be notified of their post every time. I like just kind of finding it in my feed. So that's also a hard thing is just like, is this someone that I want to be notified about every time? Or is this someone that like, I want to come across their stuff? So I've got like a few people and some things for notifications that I'm like, yeah, I want to see what they're posting because they don't post a lot. But if it's like everybody all the time, all at once, I'm like, please don't. I can't do that.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, TikTok's similar to that. Like when you first add somebody, you see them more.
Mhm,
If you engage with them, you'll see them a little bit more. But literally, like if I go look at my friends page, I see like the same 8 people, even though I'm following like 800 people.
mhm,
And a lot of the people that are following me, they're following thousands of people, and so there's just like I have like 6,000 followers on TikTok, and I will get like 60 to 80 likes
mhm,
on my stuff.
mhm,
It doesn't it's obviously that the people are
mhm.
not who follow me aren't seeing me, right? So
Yeah.
it's like and it's just frustrating like that people work so hard to make the content and then the algorithm just goes,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, I can
We sh-
I can definitely agree. Like I used to make a lot of content on YouTube But it started to get harder, and like I was like, okay, I'll put more production quality into it. It still didn't help, and I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm like, I cannot put this effort into every single video just to get 25 likes and then for my video to disappear. And if the more you make content, even if it's good, if it gets less likes, YouTube's algorithm is so mean. It will just 100% like bury you alive. But like if you make one lousy video and then walk away, like you somehow get into the algorithm with YouTube and like you get more likes, and you're just like, I don't get this. Like this,
Yeah,
once you,
that's interesting.
yeah, because once you get into the hang of like making bigger production stuff, you kind of want to stay in that swing. Because if you stop, you're like, I don't want to pick this back up again. I really don't. And so but
Yeah,
YouTube shames you if you don't get the likes. It's not about the quality of your content; it's about the likes. And I was like, oh, fuck off, YouTube. So forgive me for
yeah,
I'm already out of
that's
water
fine.
and my throat's already dried up. So I
Oh
think
no.
I think I have a bottle of water
Um,
around here somewhere. I don't know what I did with it. I don't know. Maybe hang on. I have it somewhere. Maybe
it's hiding.
it is. Okay. So what I'll do is I actually do have a whole bottle of water here, and I'll just go with this.
Yeah, I started making videos for YouTube for their RV stuff,
Mhm.
and I straight up said in like one of the first videos, I don't care about production, like I don't give a shit about any
Mhm.
of that. It's literally just gonna be very like candid stuff that I'm gonna piece together and then upload, and I'm not gonna worry because I don't want to commit
Mhm.
to that level of work. It's going to be what it is and that's it, and if that makes it so less people see me, I literally it just makes me happy making the content, and when I get tired of it, I won't do it anymore.
That's good. I'll have to subscribe to your channel. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I try to keep the videos like under 15 minutes so they're not like super long.
Okay, that's
Um,
cool. And
but yeah.
do you do your makeup, or is this like the RV stuff?
Sometimes I do the
Mhm.
makeup stuff on there. I would like to do more of that, but I haven't been able to do my makeup in a few months. But right now, it's just the RV stuff because I'm like I call it RV noob
Mhm.
because I have no idea what I'm doing, and so I was like, I'm just going to share with
Mhm.
people that I have no idea what I'm doing, and then like some people they know RVs really well, they're going to watch it and be like, well, duh. But there's a lot of people, like my friends especially, who have no exposure to RVs, so like every single video they're like, oh, I had no idea
Mhm.
about that or whatever. And it's also a good outlet for like the stress that I'm
Mhm.
dealing with because it's been like every single thing that could go wrong has gone wrong,
Mhm.
and so like I can talk about that and then also share what I'm doing to fix it and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So it gives me like a positive outlet for my frustration basically. And I've gotten compliments on it, people say they like enjoy it, so that's cool. I didn't really expect that. I don't really expect people to like my stuff. I'm always really, really
Mhm.
pleased when they do.
Right? I feel the same way. Like it enlightens me, like, wow, somebody actually liked my content. This is great. Like me personally, I'd love to just talk nerdy stuff and just kind of do, talk books or something like that. Those are my passions, but like nobody ever seems interested. So I'm just like, well, tits out. I'm like, are people interested now? And like people are like, yeah, get all like excited. Like, yeah, there's boobs. It's like, oh my god, people. I'm like, well, now that I've got him in here, I'm gonna pull him in and like, look, I like nerdy stuff. And then they're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And I'm like, that's the whole point. Is just like, okay, just lure him in with a little bit of flesh, and I'm like, I try my joke.
I never
Yeah.
I never learned to do that. I should have done that in my younger years because I was like into the nerdy stuff,
Hmm.
but I never used my
Hmm.
wiles to get what I wanted,
Hmm.
and maybe I should have learned to do that. And the clown stuff is the most feminine that
Hmm.
I've ever been. Like I'm
Hmm.
just me. I'm not anything. And like the for whatever reason, most of the clown stuff comes out like really, really feminine. So it's been interesting because the way that people treat me, they perceive me
Hmm.
as being female in a way that
Hmm.
I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm, before my health issues,
Mhm.
I was the person that I did all the work on my vehicles. I worked on my friends' vehicles. I did like my own house repairs. I
Mhm.
I just do whatever I feel like doing, and there's no like, you know, I didn't wear makeup. I didn't, I still don't wear makeup normally. I
Mhm.
don't. It just yeah, and I'm knowledgeable and I put it out there. Like I don't, I make men who are insecure uncomfortable because I don't let them be the know-it-alls, right?
Mhm.
Um, and they're usually wrong. So, but it's been interesting because I've treated, especially on Twitter, it's really bad on Twitter the way the men talk to me. They
God.
talk to me like I'm like small and stupid, and I'm like, do you have any idea like who you're talking to, like at all? Like I am neither of those things. Like
Yeah,
I take up lots of space and I am smart.
yeah, it's funny when like they try and approach you about things and you're just like, right, okay. Like, yeah, no, this is like if you were next to me in a bar, I'm gonna laugh in your face. And so I usually come back with something witty or with a retort, and they're like, "Oh, okay." They didn't expect. It. I was like, "Yeah, I've got personality." Like I'm because they think I'm like some like e girl or some. I'm like, honey, I'm not. There's something a bit more to me, you know.
Right?
So
Yeah.
personality. I posted that today. It was just pictures of me. I said personality is sexy, and I'm like, that's 100% true. That tops everything else. Like I've
Yep.
seen so many pretty girls on the internet, and yet if they don't have personality, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I was like, as soon as those looks are gone, honey, what do you got left? Like it's got to be who you are. Like you can be pretty on top of that, but I'm like, there's got to be a little bit of substance to your style. So
Right.
how do
Yeah, I
you
don't
manage
like
that?
I don't even a lot of the people that are seen as, like, pretty just, like, I don't see it, like, at all. It's just not how I see people. To me, it is literally, like,
Mhm.
the body language, the personality, the integrity, like, all of these things are what shape the way that I see a person, and then that's what makes them shine or be yucky, you know? And, so to me, like, a lot of the stuff that makes, like, say, celebrities attractive, I find not they're not, like, especially a lot of the male actors are quite non-symmetrical and just bulbous and not, you know? I'm like, I don't wanna wake up next to that face, like
Why, Jugger,
so,
give me
yeah.
a kiss in the morning.
And yeah, it's just seems all very, like, arbitrary, like, people just collectively, like, agree what's attractive, and then
Yeah,
it doesn't mean anything at all.
same. Yeah, like I'm always just like I'm like they're boring. I don't like them. I'm like yeah,
Yeah.
and there's some out there that I'm like and it's like I don't know. It's a lot of older ones I do find attractive because I feel like older actors and actresses were more of thespians and they were like they had a different range of acting now
Like
actors and all this stuff in this day and age
yeah.
like
I like Tilda Swinton, like
mm, yes she's sweet. I
yeah.
like her. I love how she has this androgynous aspect to her where like she's both masculine and feminine at the same time and like there's something beautiful about that
Yeah.
and I think that's great because I'm like I can't think of another person that's like that. Yeah, Tilda's beautiful.
Yeah. There's and she's a very good
Hmm.
actress, and then from what I've read about her as a person, she's very interesting and, like, a good person and stuff, and I almost feel like the less you hear about celebrities, the more likely that they are, like, a good person,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah, Tilda is one that like I've never heard about off like camera. Like I've heard about other celebrities off camera and everything and stage, but like Tilda's one like me, like I couldn't tell you. I'm like I would assume that they're similar to who they are on screen, but I'm like I personally have no idea. But that's actually kind of nice to hear, like that they're at like you know.
Yeah, it's cool. Um, I have to pee.
Should we bring this to a close? We're almost 2 hours into this.
Yeah. I'll probably yeah, I think that's probably a good breaking
Yeah.
time is when my bladder is like, "Ah!"
Mhm.
I've been ignoring it for about a half an hour, so, um, but yeah, so, like I said before, you don't have to hang up right away. I'll stop the recording, and then we can, like, say goodbye and stuff, but, thank you for joining me. I've had lots of fun, and, yeah, and thanks everybody for listening. Bye.